Okay, so my name is Michael, and this is my big data CA. So let's just get right into it. So over here is my Mongo. So I have my Mongo running in CMD, and here is my JavaScript file. So basically, you can see I'm using the database Big Data CA Michael Zani, and then I'm showing the collections. So show collections. This is all the collections here. So we have movies, comments, posts, and users. So basically, to do this, I did db.createCollection, which creates a collection of movies, db.movies.insert, so this inserts all into the movies, and then this will show you everything that's in movies. So if we just quickly just copy that in here, then you can see all that's in the movies. So I'm just going to run through pretty much how I did the rest, all the questions. I won't do every single one if they're quite similar, but I'm going to kind of explain it as I go along anyway. So okay, so get all documents, we've already done that. So get all documents set to Quentin Tarantino. So this is this one here. So I'm just gonna pop it in. So there you can see this gets every document that has the writer set to Quentin Tarantino. So basically, to do this, it uses this bit of code here, which basically says everywhere. So you use the same thing. It's db.movies.find, except everywhere where the writer equals Quentin Tarantino, it will display. And then .pretty just kind of cleans it up a bit, because normally when you just do .find, it's kind of jumbled up. So .pretty kind of separates it out a bit, so it's easier to read. Same thing again for these three here, except actors and franchise. Just set it two different fields, but they're the exact same thing. So this one here, this one will show you something different. So this basically, I used less than to find all the movies that came out in the 90s. So basically everything where the year was less than 2000 came out in the 90s. So I used less than for the year, and it basically shows you this. So you can see then we have Pulp Fiction and we have Fight Club. Same thing here. I'm not really going to show this one because it's the exact same thing, except to use an or, and then it's between less than and greater than 2010. So that's for this question here. Question 6. Okay, so I'm going to move on to the update. Okay, so to update, we basically use db_movies.update. So you're using the movies collection and you're using .update to update the collection. So everywhere where the title equals The Hobbit, An Unexpected Journey, you use this $.set command, and basically what this does is, even though synopsis isn't actually created in those documents, you can just use $.set to create it, and then it'll put in this value here. I'm not gonna go all the way down, it's a bit pointless, but yeah, so that basically updates it, and you can see that when we go up here that they have a synopsis. So you can see The Hobbit there. I'm not going to redo it because it means I have to delete everything again, but you can see that it obviously worked. Let's see what else we have. Sorry, I'm trying to like go between three different things, so it kind of gets a bit confusing at times. Okay, so find all movies that have a synopsis that contain the word Bilbo. Okay, so to do this, I had to create an index on synopsis. It wouldn't work unless you create an index. So you can actually use $.search, and that will basically find it will find anything. It'll find anything in synopsis that matches Bilbo. So you use that, and then this should work if I pop this one in. But you need to create an index, otherwise it doesn't work. Yeah, so as you can see, it works. The exact same thing for this one here. You need to create an index on synopsis though, otherwise it won't work because it won't be able to search through them. Okay, so then you've got a delete here as well. So I think there's a few that I missed or didn't do. Oh no, I couldn't get these to work. I couldn't get the and or to work. I'm not sure why. I think it's got to do with maybe my indexing. I'm not too sure, but I tried them anyway up here, so I have. This is me trying to do it, but I'm not sure if it works. But anyway, I'm just gonna move on quickly from that. So we have delete. So where are we? Oh yeah, here we are. So to delete, I only want to delete one, so I use db.movies.delete1, and that would delete Pee Wee Herman and Avatar. I'm not gonna do that now because they've already been deleted because I've already run through this. Don't mind the use. That's just, I think that's just a reminder for myself. Don't worry about that. Okay, so now we're on to the collections. So same thing for collections, exact same thing. Just db.createCollection users and db.usersInsert. Then the same thing again for db.posts. Same thing. And same thing for comments as well. Okay. And the only thing that was different for comments was in post, I actually used db.find. So I used db.post.find one to find the corresponding document that had a title borrow something, and then I used .id to get that the object ID. So for this one we had to store the object ID. So that's how I did that. I'll show you. Here we go. So you have to use the object ID. So this basically stores the object ID. So if I'm gonna show you now when we go through this. Okay, so if I go db.users comments. So you can see that the object ID is stored in an array in post. So these object IDs correspond to these here. So and yeah, so and then I'll go through these real quick just to show you. Okay, so these are your users and your posts. So you can see the object ID there is stored in ID, and then I use that to get the corresponding object ID. So yeah, so this is kind of similar as before. Like you use .find and then add a field to kind of search for a specific thing. So everything has username Good Guy Greg comes up like this. So all you have to do is username Good Guy Greg and then .pretty, and then it will show you every single one with the username Good Guy Greg. The same thing with Scumbag Steve. Yeah, and I think that's everything. This is one. Okay, so for db to comment stuff find, so this one would have been find all comments belonging to the post reports a bug in the code. So to do this, I used the db.post.find to actually get the ID of this, and then I searched for that ID inside comments inside the post field. If that makes sense. Sorry, I'm trying to explain this, but I don't know if I'm doing a great job because I'm trying to remember everything as I'm doing it. But yeah, so you can kind of see how I did it anyway. Okay, so keep moving on. So now I'm gonna I'm gonna pause the video and move into Postgres and show you how I did that. Okay, so now we're using Postgres. So now we're using Postgres. So as you can see, I have my database, and I'm using it now. So then this is my SQL file. So this is all the commands I used. So I create a database, create a movies table. I made the title primary key. I used text and then that to make an array inside. So I had to use an array constructor here when I was building the table. So that will store all those values in an array. So yeah, if we do, actually, oh sorry, I'm messing up. Backslash. So that should. Oh no, sorry, DT. Sorry. Okay, so now this shows us all my tables. So comments, movies, posters, and users. Okay, so now I'm going to. So this is basically how I selected all from movies table. This is where I selected all from movies where the writer was equal to Quentin Tarantino. So it's kind of like SQL, it's the same sort of stuff. The only thing I couldn't get working was using a like inside this array. I'm not sure why that wasn't working, but I couldn't get it to work anyway. Even with the percentage signs, it wasn't really working for me. But I'm just going to move on from that. It works for franchise though. For franchise, basically, where the Hobbit is the franchise is where the Hobbit is the franchise inside the movies database. It will display it. And then this is the same for movies in between the year 2000 and the year 2010. If you want to do if you want to do the year 2000, it's basically just this. It's the same thing as just this. So I'll do that now because I quickly forgot to do it. So bang, that's how you do that one. I'll just quickly I'll run some of these so you can kind of see what I mean. So we'll run this one here. So as you can see, that gives us back 3 rows with the Hobbit, and then we can do this one here as well. Okay, and then that brings us back 5 rows, and it brings us all these movies here that were released between the specific years. Okay, so what else are we gonna go? So to update, I used update movies and then set synopsis. So this would set it to this value and where the title was this. Exact same thing here, and then this is how I actually ran through the synopsis. So if I use that, you'll see. Sorry if I'm not sounding as coherent. I'm just trying to think of things as I'm saying them. So yeah, so that's basically returns you 2 rows and shows you where everywhere in the synopsis that has Bilbo. So delete from movies, so that's obviously how you delete from the table. And then same thing now, we have the exact same thing with users. So this is how I create the users table, this is the schema I used, and then you have posts. And for posts, I use a foreign key for the username. So the username is actually related to this here, or sorry, this one here. And for the comments, I did the same thing. It references the users in the user table. I think, yeah, pretty much everything is the same. The only thing is different, I use an SQL statement here. So I had to get, again, if you can remember, I had to get the object ID. So I used the SQL statement to get this. I might run over time, so if I'm cut off, it kind of means I'm going to have to do a second part. Yeah, so okay, so I gotta run this and I'll show you how it works. No, sorry, I'll actually just do select all from comments and then you can see. So you can see that each one is using the SQL statement to get the ID from posts. So if I do select all from posts, you can have a look. And you can see that I used an auto increment, which is serial in Postgres, to do this. So this is getting all the IDs from this. And then the only other main thing was this one here. So select. I'll use an inner join to find all the comments belonging to post that reports a bug. So I use an inner join basically to do that. So if I run that, it'll show. Okay. Boom, and that returns back 1 row. Okay, so I'm going to pause the video here and I will talk about the differences in a separate video.